Hello and welcome. This is Paragon RG. We're going to be doing some game analysis of the Viper. He has been playing quite a bit again. And in this match, he's going to be playing on Ancient Spires as the Abbasid Dynasty. So there's a couple things we want to look out for in this match. Ancient Spires, first of all, we'll show it in a sec, but lots of lakes are on the map. So we want to keep an eye on how fishing is used, especially as the Abbasid Dynasty. Like, do they need to fish? Is a second TC a better way to go about that? We'll take a look at his ideas around that. And then also just spread of resources. So something I know I need to focus on more in my games is, where are my resources? Where are their resources? And how can I drive them off of the resources they need? So that's something I want to go into this game with in mind. So with that in mind, let's jump into this one. We'll just get set up here. And we are good to go. So I'm going to stay on the Viper's view as I did in the last game, if you're watching this live. So the Viper in the blue, west side of the map playing as the Abbasid, as I mentioned, against Lenok playing as the English. Jesus. Sorry, there's a scream and a wolf howl very shortly after. I think that's just the scout doing his thing. So I'm not exactly sure why. I think he's just trying to pull wolves away from his villager. So look at this approach right off the top. Abbasid get 50% off their dock. So he's headed straight for a dock with 2 villagers. So this is a fish rush. I think that pretty much answers one of our questions. We'll watch the scouting from here on out. Let me take a quick look. Still has 1 military unit, so that's only the 1 scout out from Viper. He's on a nice big wood line here, although, of course, this is where opponents are going to show up, and they're going to be longbowmen, right? So we have to figure, where might an outpost go for the English player, right? It could go here. It could go, like, here or here. Something that would trigger the network of castles bonus and just be super, super annoying, such that they could retreat toward it. So maybe not the safest wood line, just because it's forward and you're against the English. Now he has another wood line here. So something sometimes players will do is like wall at the front of the wood line, which gives them a little more space. You know, they can be safer here if your opponents are all the way back here. Sees his opponent's scout, nothing too crazy there, and is on fish. So I'm assuming... So he's at 0 food. He's redlining it, right? Does have an extra villager already queued up, and 3 villagers on sheep. I'm assuming as soon as he can, these villagers will be peeled off of food. And it makes me wonder, is this going to be a second dock? He has a deep sea fish. The fact there's 2... Oh, right, that's right. So these guys are on food as well. That's a big part of how he's keeping afloat here. Let's check over on his scout. See what's up. So in the last game we casted the Viper, he kept it so simple. Basically, he went horsemen and spearmen, and all the key was is he only added horsemen when he scouted an archery range. And when he scouted a second archery range, he added more horsemen. And he just took the sacred sites as Delhi, cleaned up their army, and the guy just forfeited. That was the game. I don't expect this game to be quite that simple. For those of you who don't know Lenok as well, Lenok was a top StarCraft 2 player in his day. He has $300,000 of earnings in that game. So he does scout a dock and 3 fishing ships. So let's check up on his own numbers. 3 here, 1 here. Deep sea fish as well. So a little bit of an advantage here for the Viper so far. Sees a villager. This villager was probably just hoping to not get spotted. So Lenok will probably have to pull his scout over here if he wants to save his villager. It's still so interesting to me 2 villagers were used for this. I'm not sure why, unless he thought that his opponent might have multiple scouts over here, and two villagers means that you're much more likely to be able to finish a dock if there's some kind of crazy aggression. So maybe it's just a safer play. As I say this, we're seeing the villager wander off a little bit. So maybe a second dock coming up moving to another lake, either for better drop-off, but no, it is looking like he might dock somewhere on this pond. Losing a scout at the front. Obviously, never ideal. Now let's check back on his base for a little bit here. And when you have spare cycles, keep an eye on that blue dot. That's the villager moving over. Probably to add a dock or maybe an outpost. Now he's going up with the economic wing, which is absolutely no surprise for the Abbasid dynasty. We don't see anyone on stone. Actually, oh yeah, sorry, that is just gold. 4 villagers on gold. Well, that can either mean upgrades, or it can mean he's planning on a feudal... Oh, man. It can mean he's planning on a feudal aeroship, right, which would require gold, or he's hoping to get a pretty good Castle Age time. So I think there's a few possibilities here. I would argue, I could be wrong on this, but I would argue the meta in terms of exactly how many... Like, AoE2 got to the point... Oh, no. Looks like the villager will finish the dock, so job completed. If this were AoE2, he'd go... Drop 3 walls, and this villager would magically be safe. Scout coming over, but I don't think it will make it in time to save his villager. So, villager did the job. Leenock reaches feudal age first. So, do we see an attack ship, rather an archer ship, come out for him first? I'm actually going to close the resource panel up here, and we don't. So I'm pretty sure that's what the Viper... There it goes. As soon as he hits feudal, clicks this. Okay. Something I try to encourage players to do. We're just trying to get better at the game. It's almost a conceptual thing. When you hit an age, you need to take advantage of a power spike. The entire purpose of putting this dock here... Actually, that's interesting. It looks like the dock is arrow slits, but it's just the art, I guess. Catches the other villager, but I think he can make it back in time without the animation canceling. Nonsense. So it's all about power spikes, right? So he took immediate advantage of hitting feudal age. Think of Viper being excited, right? He's excited to screw over his opponent on this lake. So as soon as he gets feudal, his mind is like, how do I take advantage of that? Oh, yeah. Keep in mind, add an archer ship at that dock. And then, so he's watching hitting feudal. He does, boom, clicks up. Okay. You don't need high APM to do that. You just need focus. So, killing his opponent's fish. This is huge. Unfortunately, he doesn't know if his opponent is fishing elsewhere. So, for all we know, there's a dock somewhere over here. There are now longbows on his fishing ships. He will get them to safety. So, again, this isn't a high APM move, right? This is just like, get all 3 ships to safety and go from there. He does have a couple horsemen now. He's clearing up the wolves. But after that, it's go time on the longbows. And he's already popped out the fishing ships to get back to work because he knows he can deal with these longbows. So really, he should be expecting some spears to come out now from his opponent. And yeah, side note, Golden Age Tier 1 activated. Always good to have. Another horseman is out. So let's take a look at what the Viper is up to. A couple more houses. All good things. Blacksmith. Still curious if he's going to end up on here, or if this is strictly going to be a fishman. So this is obviously a huge success. For the price of a dock, which for Abbasid is 75 wood, and then an archer ship, which is 270 more resources. So we're looking at 365 total resources. He has actually... I mean, Leenock could have saved some fishing ships, but he's... Even if he saved them, stopped his opponent from fishing on this whole area, and now he is fishing himself. So that investment paying off further. Scouting opponent's resources, keeping an eye on stone. Also, by the way, sees his opponent has a blacksmith. Okay, this is not a building to be ignored, right? If you see your opponent has a blacksmith, that generally tells you something about their plans, that they want to accomplish certain things in the feudal age. Viper needs to save his ships. Does have a couple of spearmen, a third one actually here now as well. So we'll definitely lose fishing ships. If I had to guess, though, he's still generally up in that regard. Okay, so really the thing to figure out is his resources are starting to build up a bit. Is this a push for the Castle Age? Because in a way, these fish... Like, one way to play it is that your fishing ships are really just a play to help you hit Castle Age faster. You don't need them the whole game necessarily if you can take advantage of a huge power spike. This is interesting. His opponent may not even know he's on deep sea fish here. More will go down, but they will successfully drop off first. And this looks like it's probably going to be a cleanup, though I say that 4 spearmen is actually quite a bit. Pretty strong counter here. But he pops out an archer ship. So his opponent can't really hang around this area with horsemen and an archer ship, causing problems. And I did not see this. So we see a third dock up here. So going back to what we wanted to talk about, which was basically how do you choose to boom as the Abbasid? There's good ways to do it on this map, fish or extra villagers with that extra town center. I had actually forgotten going into this game that Abbasid get docks that cost half price, right? 75 less wood. That's such a big deal that it makes sense that you kind of want to spray docks around the map. So I think we're already getting an answer to that early question. Now, something to note is neither player has really been getting into the other player's bases. They're sort of fighting proxy wars so far, right? So they're fighting over lakes. There's been obviously fighting down here where Viper drove his opponent out of this area. Fighting over here. Viper still has 4 fishing ships working away on the deep sea fish. Still 600 food left on them. Something scouted here. Didn't see what. Now, composition-wise, I've been really hoping to see this, and I'm so glad we're seeing it now. Camel Archer Horseman. This makes so much sense to me, and it all comes down to how efficient the Camel Archers are, because obviously if they're bad enough, this won't work. But I feel like this composition hasn't been revisited since Horsemen have been buffed. The fact that they have extra armor now, and he actually has an upgrade, so they have 3 armor right now in the Feudal Age, means that they'll tank, so they absolutely wreck archers, including longbows. Okay. Camel archers kill archers pretty quickly too, and they can take good hits. The problem is they're just not that efficient. What they're good at, though, is dealing with spearmen. Right, so they're doing almost triple damage against spearmen. So this combination should beat archer spearmen. I think it does, and you also have the speed, so you can pull back, you can kite, you can leave and just raid. You have a lot of, let's say, initiative. I think this composition gives a ton of initiative. Bloomery completed. That should be the ranged attack, I believe. No, it must be the... must be something else. The Camel Archers already had 11 attack a minute ago. Okay, trying to snipe some villagers. We'll have limited success. One nice reason to do this with Camel Archers, yeah, they don't have a ton of attack. They have certainly more than regular archers. We'll lose one here. That's a big loss. But they have quite a few hit points. So, as I click a tree instead, 175 hit points is obviously really solid, and now they have a ranged armor as well. His opponent has 1/1 upgrades. You can't quite tell. The longbows have 6 attack normally and 0 ranged armor normally, so... Sees a ton of his opponent's spearmen, so he can't really push that deeply in here. That being said, his opponent does have to pull back a little bit. He doesn't want to lose his longbows that he has. He does have more, though. Yeah, so they've joined forces now. So Viper fully on the offensive here, but he has to pull back, right? I mean, you can't fight this many spearmen. Horsemen will tank a lot of hits, but they will still eventually go down. And I think he has to strictly pull back here and wait for reinforcements. Now, he's fairly close to clicking up to the... Actually, sorry, he has clicked up to the Castle Age. His resources are spiking a little bit here, which makes me wonder what his intended power spike is. Is it... You know, he has 3 barracks. So you've got to figure he's going to be making men-at-arms. Can obviously mix in Lancers. Okay, so remember that that excitement element I was trying to get at earlier? So he just spent a whole bunch of resources on Men-at-Arms. And yeah, I think he needs more. I think he's good. He should be okay. I think he has enough on gold now. But he's hit the Castle Age, and he knows he needs to take advantage of it. So there are 0 seconds to waste. You need to add those troops as soon as you can. And even a few Men-at-Arms coming out could easily swing this battle in his favor, though he is going to wait until he has a little bit stronger numbers. This is a ball of units that is starting to look like a bit of a death ball, and looks like he can actually see through here. So villagers, this villager had probably the most painful death, judging by her animation. And look at this. So look how active these barracks are. Keeps making sure. So that's his goal right now, right? Men-at-Arms production. Anything else, I would argue, is secondary. He's hit Castle Age. He knows he needs to take advantage of it. Now, Lenok is pushed in here. So Viper actually has an opportunity to cut off this force. And if he can, then he can kind of just kill it and win. Without these longbowmen, and without these longbowmen being able to get to their Castle Age counterpart, so I guess just veteran longbowmen, Lenok is toast. Now, Viper also added a mangonel. Right, okay, so these archers were used to build a mangonel. Men-at-Arms now coming in for the Viper. Interestingly, I thought he would join forces with all of these troops, but it looks like new troops are going to go here, and he sends 6 Men-at-Arms to go do some raiding. Meanwhile, I believe he has a second... He got the second ranged armor upgrade. So these Men-at-Arms are beasts. They have 6 armor apiece. So longbows are doing 1 damage to them right now. Keep in mind as well, God, the cries of battle are overwhelming here. Also has a Lancer out now. Maybe not the most efficient usage of it, but Lenok is now on the run. And Viper now has Men-at-Arms in his wood line. And guess what? If you can't produce longbows because you need wood, and longbows are the primary element of your composition, well, that is pretty much game. Viper has the better army. He is in Castle Age, and he's starting to clean up his opponent's force. That's game. Lenok calls it. So this is a pretty good example of how to win relatively early. Castle Age maybe not being that early, but it's pretty hard, I think, to win in the Feudal Age in this game without some kind of ram rush, for example. Okay, so let's talk a little bit then about resource usage. This wood line did end up biting Viper a little bit, and if the timing was different, a little different, it could have been pretty bad. So he was losing villagers on the front line. I had better pause the game, actually. Let's do that. Do we have economy? Let's go to the full view here. 56. Okay. Unfortunately, the game shows Lenok currently at 0 villagers, which is obviously not true. So no attempt for that second TC. So, you know, it appears that Abbasid are perfectly viable with just booming on multiple lakes, let's say. Ponds, people often call them. Now, notice he didn't add a crazy number of fish on any given pond. So this is a little bit of, and forgive me, I can't... but we can't see the minimap here. Here we go. So, pond here only adds a couple. Now, this is obviously a less safe area. You go up here. And he adds 4 fishing ships, plus there's the villager there as well. This is a really nice approach where you're so spread out that if they want to deal with you everywhere, well, either they have to go with a ball one at a time and deal with all of them, or they can spread out, in which case you can basically jump on their smaller forces with horsemen, or for example, you can make a single archer ship and fend them off. Basically, you have options, and not all of your eggs are in one basket. In terms of resource usage, Viper went directly to... it would be cool, actually, to go back I can't rewind, unfortunately. But go back and watch. Where were these men-at-arms sent to? Were they sent directly to this wood line? Viper pretty much knows his opponent is on this wood line, and yes, he might be on this one, but he actually had a camel archer hanging out here, keeping an eye on it. So there's one place where Lenok is getting wood. So even if he doesn't clean up the army of Lenok, which he did, or effectively did, he, Lenok tapped out when it was pretty clear it was going to happen. He made sure no more troops were going to come out of Lenok anytime soon. So keeping an eye on where your opponents are taking resources is super key. I think he potentially could have won by just cleaning up the army of Lenok, but I actually think this was a much stronger play now that I look at it. So my brain was telling me, this is perfect. Lenok is over here. I gotta get a drawing app so I can do curved arrows. But your forces are here. Just close them off and murder that army, and then you win the game. That being said, he can still rebuild. He can add walls. He can jump on stone and put down a castle. Like, the game can get drawn out. So if you know you're going to win this battle, then technically you can spread out your troops, really push your opponent's focus, drive their resources into the ground, and then actually just win the game in one fell swoop. All right, folks, there is the Viper putting on an absolute masterclass here against Lenok. Hope you enjoyed this one. This has been Paragon RG. If you want to learn more with me on a daily basis, subscribe to me on YouTube, like the videos so people hear about them, and we'll keep doing this for the foreseeable future. All right, thanks a lot, folks. Catch you next time.